Hi, everyone. Excited to see everyone here today. So we have Pamela here from Ajala Digital, and today we'll talk about how you can use audio ads as a part of your media strategy, and also learn from Pamela and how her agency is using audio ads for their clients as well. My name is Marina Brushkina. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the CEO at Gersh Channel. We use AI for digital advertising across premium advertising channels, such as audio, connected TV, streaming, games, music, and many more. And today with me is our amazing guest speaker, Pamela Wagner, joining us from Ajala Digital. Pamela.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Do we want to do a quick introduction now, or otherwise I also have one included in the slides later?
Yeah, we can just do a quick one and then maybe dive deeper right in your section. Just saying hi, I think.
Awesome. Well, I'm the CEO of Ajala Digital, an ad agency that I founded about 9 years ago already. And before that, I used to work at Google. So I've been in the ad space for a decade now, which feels already pretty long, to be honest. And I'm super excited to share with you some just really practical tips. So anything that Marina and me will share with you today is not just theory, but it's actually practically applied, tested knowledge, in some instances, even with thousands of advertisers.
Awesome. Thank you, Pamela. We are really excited to learn more about how your advertising strategies are being deployed and get some of those hints, tips, and tricks from the best campaigns. Sweet. So we'll kick off with a short introduction to audio advertising as a part of your programmatic strategy for those of you who are new to audio ads and overall programmatic. Then we'll all hear from Pamela about some of their learnings and how they've been deploying audio ads. And we'll wrap up with a few trends and a Q&A session. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So audio ads. When you think about audio ads, we must probably hear them almost every day whenever we stream music, listen to podcasts, or even digital radio when we are commuting to work or anywhere else. And one of the common ways to actually get placements of your ads on audio networks is through programmatic buying through the auction. And there are many different networks on audio there. So some of you may know Spotify, Pandora, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, and even Apple Music and many others. And you may stream that through many different devices, including your phone, your tablet, and even laptop. Some of these here are also companion banners, which you may have seen and not just heard, which also includes some of the visual to help you with that brand awareness and impact. I would say don't expect many users to click on your audio ads directly, but it's usually a good channel to consider within your omni-channel strategy altogether. And there are many different reasons why advertisers choose audio ads as a part of their strategy. Some of the most common reasons being increasing your brand awareness, making sure you hit and reach your target audience across various channels. But also sometimes it could be cost efficiency on premium channels like audio. One of the main reasons we have seen a lot of folks getting into audio ads these days is through also bypassing the ad blocking, which I think is sometimes overlooked, because while it's very easy to get ad blockers on laptop and desktop devices, so it's becoming harder and harder to reach that audience, it is kind of still difficult to get those up and running on your phone, CTV, or audio networks. So it's still a good way to reach that very specific target audience who you want to get through B2C or even B2B offerings. And I talked a little bit about programmatic ecosystem at the very beginning, but for those of you who are new to programmatic media buying, so there are many different players at hand. So for example, publishers here on the very right side are things like Spotify or Pandora, so the actual music streaming service. You have different ad exchanges, for example, like Google, and then DSPs like Trade Desk, that get you that experience and getting those placements for advertisers. If programmatic is something new for you, I highly recommend our article here to better understand how programmatic is actually structured to help you get an idea how you can actually get those placements at hand. And let's say you are ready to run audio ads and you really want to tap into it. Step one is always start by defining your goals. And it's not just for audio ads, it's for any other ad campaign out there. So before you start with any campaign, make sure you know exactly what do you want to get out of this campaign. Is it, for example, specific completion rate, engagement rate, maybe conversions, purchases, new revenue? Be specific and try to define those goals as well as, timely measurement for them. The second one is defining your audience. And it's usually not just age and gender. It's more of, okay, what does my audience look like? Like, what do they like to read? What do they buy? How often do they buy? When do they buy? Why do they buy? So really dive deeper into your audience and to try to understand them better. There are many different targeting criteria you are able to use with programmatic advertising strategies, such as contextual, previous purchases, current intent for certain purchases, different platforms they may be using, or even actually targeting the very specific individuals. So there are many different opportunities there as long as you know who you want to reach. The third one here is crafting a compelling messaging. That actually means your ad. In this case, that's the audio. So what is the message? And here I included a few tips to make that important for you and kind of have a checklist in mind to just get things off the ground. Make sure you have a good hook. Like, make sure people actually pay attention to your ad. Because if I'm listening to music or a podcast, I may just kind of disconnect at the moment when I hear an ad playing. So make sure you actually capture back my attention. Focus on listeners' needs and benefits. So why do I need it? And what do I get from it? Keep it clear and concise. You don't have much time in an audio ad, and our attention span isn't as large these days. So make sure you get right to the point. Have an emotional connection. Don't make it a boring ad. So make sure it actually makes an impact and I actually remember it. Use vivid imagery and sound effects. Imagery will be only on companion banner, which is usually mainly on your phone. But sound effects could be an important one. You can use that through special different background or even the person who is going to be playing that message. I have heard recently some folks are generating those audio ads using AI, well, I'll still make sure that it actually sounds like I can get paying my attention to it. And include a strong call to action. What do you want people to actually do after hearing the ad? If there is no call to action, don't expect an action. So definitely make sure that's included in your ad. The next step here is setting bids and budget. So define the timeline for your ad. What are you willing to spend and the bids. So the bids is usually your maximum bid CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions. Oftentimes with audio ads, an impression would also mean a listen. And in this case, you want to make sure that for broader audiences or broader channels, we usually tend to see lower CPM, but for more premium channels and for more narrow target audience, you may see a higher CPM. When I say lower CPM, I mean between $10 to $20 for audio these days, averaging at least pre-holiday season. And higher CPMs would be anywhere within 30s and 40s. And again, this is pre-holiday season. And I say pre-holiday season because we know that everything goes up during the holiday season when everyone bids for the same audience on the same channels, and the auction can have a little bit of a seasonality. And optimizing and monitoring your results. So make sure you actually look deeper into reporting and optimize, run A/B tests, and compare different audio ads, messaging, targeting strategies, maybe different placement opportunities. So keep on grinding that to make sure you actually hit your goals. And that's just like a little bit of a basics here for those that are just getting started with this. But let's hear now from the experts. So I want to pass over to Pamela here to really tell us how it's done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you hear me clearly? Wonderful. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. And all right, here we go. So let's do this in the slideshow. Let me see if everything is visible. Yes, beautiful. Wonderful. So the way I summed up our experience so far is pretty much call it the 5 powerful secrets to audio ad success, how to predictably and profitably scale in 90 days or less. And I hope that the following insights are going to help you really leverage this channel. Now, this is for everybody who wants to get more quality leads or purchases from their advertising spend more consistently, right? So if you use ads in any way, even if you're not yet using Growth Channel, right? In any shape or form to get more customers and you want to get 2 to 10 times more out of every $1 in ad spend, then this is for you. Now, I just want to quickly check in with you to see where you're at. Do you sometimes feel like attracting new clients can be a bit random or unpredictable? And do you sometimes wonder if it's even worth running ads because, most months you might barely break even and some months you even lose money? And are you getting revenue maybe from your website traffic already, but it's just not going beyond a certain point of revenue? Like it kind of feels like you're hitting a plateau here and there. And maybe you already see some of your competitors running ads successfully and scaling their business, but somehow doubt or wonder if that's ever possible for you. If that in any way, shape, or form resonates with you, then I got good news for you because none of these things is really a problem. The real problem is that there are these like 5 secrets that we've discovered with our clients in the past years, and they can really help you to leverage audio ads to get to the next possible level. And the good news is also they're much simpler than you think, right? So we're going to keep this really simple and straight to the point. And here they are. I'm going to go into each one of them shortly, right? Now, the first one is you got to be an established business with revenue, right? So you got to have some revenue coming in, maybe already some funnels working, and then this is really a good tool for you. If you've already got experience with ads, and that's beneficial because some of the terms that we're speaking about here will resonate easier with you if you have already run some ad campaigns. Then, prioritizing proper tracking. This is super, super important. Before we start any ad campaign, especially audio campaigns, you want to have tracking in place. You want to have a system that supports you knowing here's how much ad spend I'm getting, pretty much putting out, and here's how much I'm getting back from it, right? Then you got to have an optimized website and landing page, and we're going to look into what that exactly means. And you're going to have clarity about the one problem that you help solve for your customers. And I have a little exercise there for you to help you really figure out how can I get to that point, right? So before we dive into all these like 5 steps, just a quick about so that you know who kind of is speaking here, why you should be listening, and so on. I used to work at Google, as I said before, and in the past decade, I've helped more than 3,000 businesses all over the world in all kinds of industries grow and get more leads consistently with Google, Meta, and other platforms. The company's a Google partner and we're all Google certified, and it's literally what we live and breathe every single day. I got also honored on the Forbes 30 under 30 list back in 2017, and I got a master's in psychology and a master's in international business. And that helps me to not just like stay on the business side or the marketing side, but really everything is infused with the latest consumer psychology and consumer behavior insights. So not just that you know what works in terms of marketing, but what really makes people say yes according to the latest science. Now, let's dive right into the first step. You gotta be an established business with revenue. This is not for startups because as a startup, you have to prioritize other revenue streams in your funnel first. Um, the thing is, if you dive right into ads as a startup, oftentimes startups feel like they're just wasting money and then they give up ads forever. But you got to know more about your branding. You got to have your pricing to the point, and there's a lot of other like traffic streams out there in order to help you get that first traffic, right? So audio ads, we've seen it work really well if it's an established business, right? Now, once you are that established business, the cool thing is that there is about $11 billion spending on audio ads worldwide, and it's projected to grow over the next couple of years. So currently, it's still very cheap. It's still a niche aspect that not a lot of businesses are even aware of. And it's also fairly easy, doable, and to set up. In fact, you don't even need your own voice to get started. And we'll get into that in a bit. Once you have an established revenue stream and you're an established business, the benefits of that are that it will allow you to have a proper budget for testing, and you're going to be less nervous in the first couple of weeks when you run your ad campaigns, because this is one of the biggest issues for a lot of people and companies out there when they get started with ads. They're too nervous about losing money, which I understand. But to be honest, if you're doing anything for the first time, you're going to start off with testing a couple of aspects. And it could be like in some instances, we've had companies that made their whole investment for a quarter back in the first week. And in some instances, it can take quite a couple of weeks to figure out what really works for you, right? And the other aspect is that if you're too nervous with your ad spend, you're going to end up making mistakes, because you might have noticed this about yourself. Like any action that you take from like a nervous point of view typically isn't the most ideal action. You want to take educated decisions. You want to make decisions that are based on data and not emotions, right? And the other question that we typically get from people also that following like, now you're an established business, how much money do I need to test? And I mean, just this other weekend, guys, I cannot even tell you. I was at an event, and people, over 2,000 people, were told that not just the whoever pays the most for a click wins the ad game, but also oftentimes ad agencies say that you need tens of thousands of dollars to get started on these platforms, and that's really not true. You win the ad game if you have good creatives, if you have a good campaign setup, if you know your target audience, and then your budget is one factor of it, but it's by far not everything. So typically what we have seen is that already getting started with like 2 to 3K per month are quite appropriate in order for you to see the first results, in order to start optimizing, in order to know what works, like which audio ads work, which audiences work, and so on. And then plan for 2 to 3 months of testing, right? 2 weeks or a month is typically not enough to test everything. And the reason for that is that most ad platforms take a little bit of time, a couple of days, sometimes up to a week, to process that new data, to apply machine learning, to apply AI in order to optimize your ad campaigns the best possible way, right? So give it a little bit of time, give it a little bit of budget, and it's going to be very likely that you'll find a certain type of audience, an audio ad that will work for you. And one of the main reasons for that here is that you'll be able to catch people not just in a written format or in like an image format or a video, but you catch them in audio, which means you are speaking to a different sense of people, right? And these days, people have so much information overload that they literally need to be reminded a couple of times and in a couple of different ways. All right, let's head on to step number 2. And by the way, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat box and I'll do my best to get back to them later. Now, step number 2, experience with ads is beneficial. As said before, audio ads will be easier for you to run if you have run other campaigns before. And it might be that you've run campaigns on Facebook before, on Google, on TikTok. It doesn't have to be growth channel. If it has been growth channel, that's even better, right? But running ads before will be of a huge benefit to you, right? Because the one thing I want you to know is that Google or most other platforms are optimized to increase their own revenue and not your budget. So you really got to know how to work with these platforms in order to not get that feeling that you're just like throwing money out of the window, right? Because most of them are not just like, I'll turn it on and my sales will skyrocket platform, right? Well, in a lot of instances, we might have seen that with growth channel because the targeting is pretty well set up, right? But you got to have some background knowledge in order to get to that point, right? The thing is, what we've seen with ads, and I've had people come to me that were like, hey, I turned on ads in like 2010 and it used to be easy to figure out. Like I just turned it on, put some money in it, and the conversions came in, right? But that's just not how it works anymore, right? There are a couple of aspects to consider before you get started. And the good thing is that when you work with audio ads, they're one of the easier ad types to set up, right? On the one hand, it's because they typically tend to have a higher recall rate than traditional display ads. So in some instances, I would even recommend doing audio ads before you do display ads, right? So have a mix of like search campaigns, audio, video campaigns, and then you get a really, really nice kind of like Dolby surround experience for your customers, right? And also like know that you don't have to create these audio ads yourself. And by that, I mean you don't have to record them yourself. So if you are too conscious about like your voice or you're a bit shy, then you can have AI create these audio ads for you. And we've actually seen that AI and real voice ads perform just the same way, right? So it's easier than ever to get started with this, and there's literally like no excuse to not do it, right? They're quick to create. They're also easy to set up because once you record the audio ads, you just need to enter your target audience, your daily budget. And for us, typically setting up these campaigns they're the fastest campaigns to set up, right? And the results also typically come in within a day or two. So you can really start seeing data immediately. And the other cool thing is, once you have proper tracking set up, which we'll get to in just a minute, you also have really great reporting capabilities. And with that, you can easily compare the performance with other campaign types that you're currently running. Now, talking about tracking. This is, it used to be one of my least favorite topics to talk about, and it became one of my favorite topics to talk about because so few people get it right. And just yesterday, I kid you not, I saw a landing page, and that was the first time in a decade that I've seen this. That person, which is quite a known name, had like 7 different ad accounts of the same platform connected to the landing page, which is unnecessary, skews data, and just slows down your landing page, right? And one of the main issues for most people is that they got a mess of tracking codes because they got started at one point, they started working with one agency, then they worked with another agency, and then just tracking codes got added on top of it. And then they created new accounts, and then they don't even own these accounts. Make sure, A, you own your accounts, your ad accounts, your analytics accounts. Make sure you're admin of these accounts. This is your business data. You own it, you're responsible for it, right? So you got to have full access to it. Require that from whoever you're working with, right? And then also ask questions, right? So ask questions and have whoever you're working with answer them. If they can't answer it, then consider working with somebody else maybe. But this is your business, your company. You should own the data. You should be able to access any kind of knowledge that you need to make proper business decisions, right? And the thing is, if you don't have all that set up, you pretty much got the wrong data, and wrong data leads to wrong decisions. I mean, way too often, and I think I have a screenshot here now. Yeah. And you can test this yourself. You could just go to tagassistant.google.com and you get an overview of tags that you're using, for example, for Google. You can do the same with Meta and so on. But if you do not have the correct tracking, then I'll give you an example. So we had this one client who he thought he was paying about like $5 per conversion. And when we looked into the campaigns, we noticed that he was actually tracking 5 different conversions, and one of them was even a page view. So he was paying for, he thought, oh, I was getting like conversions of $5, when in fact the real cost per conversion was above $200, because the action that really counted for him as a conversion wasn't $5. These ad platforms have been optimizing for other conversions that where he got a lot higher number, right? So really make sure you optimize for the right conversion, that you measure the right conversion. And that's probably the one thing that I really like in Growth Channel. It makes it super easy for you to measure just one conversion. It's very straightforward. The team helps you set it up, and you just have the reporting right in front of you. So that there's like almost, it's almost impossible to get conversion tracking wrong with Growth Channel, right? So make sure you got the tracking set up correctly. And of course, if you have any doubts about that, reach out to Marina or me, and we'd be happy to help you. All right. Now, a quick visual of what you're losing if you haven't got tracking properly set up. And in our experience, about 90% of new customers that come to us don't have their tracking set up correctly, right? And so you're losing crucial data because of sometimes having double, triple tracking codes in their different accounts. You're losing speed because with any additional tracking code that's not needed, your website speed slows down. You're losing revenue because it's not focused, you're not optimizing for the right aspect. And of course, you're losing customers. We're impatient. We don't wait for landing pages to load. If it's too slow, we jump down to the next one, right? So this is why proper tracking is super, super important, right? Now, also to give this a little bit more of a context in terms of revenue impact, Google has found that every second more of page load time decreases your conversion rate by 20%, right? So turning that around, imagine how would it be if your conversion rate increased by 20%. If you got 20% more leads, 20% more purchases, what would that mean for your business, right? So just to a little bit of a food for thought there, right? Now, the result of all this, and with this we're kind of like heading on to the fourth step, is that you end up burning money and time. And money and time are probably the two most important assets that we have these days, and they're crucial. You can be running up against a competitor that's much bigger in terms of size, but the advantage as a smaller company typically is that you're faster with implementing stuff and making changes. So use that to your advantage, right? Because again, remember, you do not have to have the biggest budget. You do not have to have the biggest ad spend in order to win at this game. Now, the fourth secret is an optimized website or landing page. And this is probably something that most people rush or miss out on for the longest time. And you can check, for example, your current website performance with the Google Page Speed Insights tool. You can just Google that. Google Page Speed Insights tool, and it will give you a pretty good idea of how well your website is performing on mobile, on desktop, and so on, right? Now, the one thing I want to bring your attention to here is that most audio ads are shown on mobile. So far, the majority, and I'll listen to on mobile. So really make sure that your mobile website is optimized. Because think about it, you're listening to a podcast, you may be at home somewhere, you hear, hey, XYZ website got a discount code that's like giving it 10% off. You're going to go to your mobile and open up that website, right? So when you get to that mobile site, you really want to make sure that you find that quickly, right? So it's optimized for speed. And also what you're looking for is there. So you want to optimize it for usability, right? And that means having one call to action across the landing page. a lot of times I see that people have like 4 to 5 different call to actions leading to different like landing pages of their website. Have one call to action that could be shop now, shop now, shop now. Could be download, 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 whatever it is. Make sure it's one thing. You got to make that as easy as possible for people to say yes. And the more options you give people, the quicker you drive them away from your website. Again, people are overwhelmed these days. There's an information overload. So you gotta make it as easy as possible for people to say yes to whatever you're offering them, right? Now, just to give you a couple stats here, and there's plenty of those out there. 74% of consumers report visiting a company or product's website after hearing an ad on a podcast that they listen to regularly, right? So the big advantage here is that typically you hear these audio ads multiple times, right? So you can reach people easily, you can reach them frequently, and people are really interested in that because a lot of podcast hosts have also become very selective about which ads to run on the podcast. So typically it's a fairly well targeted ad, right? And also 54% say that they've visited a store because of a podcast ad. Because, for example, let's say on Growth Channel, I can target people that are currently at a Walgreens and I can offer them an ad about a certain product, supplement, and so on, right? So with growth channels with precision targeting, which typically I think, and Marina, feel free to correct me here, is about 6 feet close, you can really use that to your benefit, right? Like let's say you are an e-commerce brand that has your product in different retail locations. You can target people who are in these retail locations and then say, guess what? Go to your website, get a 15% off discount, and order the product there. And with that, you can also start then growing your D2C part of your business, right? Because a lot of like consumer products are big in retail, but they're struggling a bit with like direct to consumer. So you can really use audio ads for your benefit to grow that direct to consumer aspect of your business. Now, step 5. And Marina, feel free to interrupt me if I'm running short of time here. I got about like 5 minutes more. I want you to really think about what's the number one problem that you solve, right? So the mistake that a lot of business owners make when they talk about their product is they talk about their product. And here's what I mean by that. People don't care about your product. People care about, can you help them or not? Can you solve their problem or not? Can you take them from the hell that they're experiencing right now to the heaven that they want to get to, right? So what's the number one problem that you solve for your customers? And to kind of like take that up a notch in one word, the best brands in the world are able to sum up the number one problem that they solve for their customers in one word, right? And once you have that, it will also be much easier for you to create those audio ads because ideally most audio ads are between 15 to 30 seconds long. And if you can describe the number one problem that you solve, then you'll also have it much easier to create something very short and to the point, right? So something to help for you here, which is from a talk that I went to this weekend, is think about which challenge have you or your customers conquered, which setback have you or your customers survived, and which obstacle have you or your customers overcome. And typically that will help you narrow down the problem already pretty well. And I recommend you even take a screenshot of this right now, right? So you can go through this exercise later at a calm moment, right? So what's the number one problem that you solve? Make sure you really narrow that down before you record your audio ads or before you even create the script for your audio ads. Yeah? Now, let me see. So, I think with that, that's pretty much all the content that I got here so far, Marina. Anything that you'd want to dive into in more detail about these 5 secrets, or should we continue with the growth channel slides?
I think we can get maybe to it in a few minutes with our Q&A, but I think this was amazing and very insightful, especially like the duration and a few other targeting strategies you shared. Those were amazing. Thanks for bringing this up. This was awesome. Yeah, let's take it over with some of the latest trends here. All right. So, of course, Pamela already went through a few stats here and what's happening with audio ads and why they could be a good part of your media strategy. But overall, if you look at the streaming part, it's about 84% of the whole US music industry revenue right now, which means the advertising component. And also, if we look at overall, just like music consumption, paid music streaming is number one, followed by video streaming. So definitely consider this as a part of your media, especially if I would say if it's a consumer brand that you want to advertise to. I think this is definitely a no-brainer, and we are seeing amazing results even on the purchase level. For some of our advertising campaigns. For B2B, it may be a little bit trickier, but as on any other ad channel, B2B takes longer to convert, but still, especially podcasts advertising for B2B advertisers also is oftentimes deployed, and we see great results even on the lead basis there as well. Very cool stat I found is also that people actually listen to music 20 hours a week, which is a lot of time spent. And there are a lot of advertising opportunities to really tap into the world of your audience. So definitely, this is an amazing opportunity. I think people even watch maybe less TV these days than they listen to music. So definitely do consider this as a part of your strategy. And if you look into what are actually the channels where I can get my ads on, of course, Spotify is taking a big chunk of the market globally. So I would say definitely consider this as a part of your strategy, but keep one thing in mind. When you want to get presence on things like Spotify or Pandora, we do see higher CPMs. Those are usually within 30s, 40s, sometimes even 50s, especially during the holiday season. Some other more like digital streaming radio podcasts, they may have lower CPM bids, for example, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud. So there we can see like between 10 to 20 even dollars CPM. So definitely more cost efficient. So depending on your budget, depending on your audience, depending on your brand, do consider this as a part of your budgeting and planning. If you are curious about overall like CPM bids, CTR, performance metrics, we just published an updated report on programmatic benchmarks. At Growth Channel, here is the link. Everyone here will get a recording and the slides. So check it out, download the latest version and see what's trending now in terms of like by channel, CPM, CTR, CPC for different advertising campaigns and ad strategies. So definitely a good resource for you and for your planning for Q4 and overall even for next year. Before we go into the live Q&A, just wanted to recap a little bit and share just a few more words about Growth Channel platform. We are a demand-side platform allowing all advertisers and agencies get access to premium ads inventory across multiple channels, including audio, digital out of home, connected TV, video, native ads, and many more. We connect to over 200 different ad networks. They're all built inside our dashboard and inside our ecosystem. And for targeting especially, which is our sweet spot, making sure you actually reach that very specific micro-targeted audiences, we make that possible through our over 50 different data partner connections, which are also all built inside our ecosystem. So you can run contextual ads, you can run intent ads, you can run geofencing ads, or even combine all of those into one single audience targeting, making it super specific. And advertisers see amazing results on Growth Channel. We work with some small brands, but also some big brands like the ones displayed here, which see great return on ad spend, foot traffic, and even cost savings when it comes to having all built-in access. I'd love to have a few minutes here for our Q&A session. We do have some questions here, and please, if you do have any additional questions, put them in the chat or in the question box, and we'll get to your part here. I do have one thing here around A/B testing. Pamela, maybe you can add some more context.
Yep, sure.
So how do you A/B test with an audio ad? Maybe you can share a few strategies that you've seen work for your campaigns.
Yeah, so Carly, maybe you could also help us clarify what you mean by that there is not really an action to take, so I can also respond to that part. What we do with A/B testing with audio ads is, for example, we test male versus female voices, so that is an important aspect. And then we also test different call to actions, right? Is it sign up? Is it download? Is it add to cart? Is it register, right? So there's at least like 3 to 4 different call to actions that will probably fit for your brand and product that you can test. And then we also test different scripts, right? So it's very likely that we create somewhere between like 8 to 16 different audio ad scripts that we then run against each other and see which one performs best. And of course, you can also test, for example, different discount codes. So with audio ads, the best action step is always to include a certain discount code for people to take easiest action, right? So I hope that these 3 aspects help you with A/B testing your audio ads. And let us know what you mean by not really an action to take, and then we can also respond to that.
Awesome. Thank you, Pamela, for sharing. I do have another question. Can you tell a little bit more about your strategy around audio ads overall? Was it part of your like multi-channel strategy where you're running different channels in parallel with audio, or was it more of a standalone campaign?
So typically it's part of a multi-channel strategy, right? So there is a certain fit with any other campaign that we run, whether it's search, video, display, and so on. So we always make sure that the messaging aligns, that if people search for it in Google or in other platforms, that they see the same messaging or wording, that if they see a video ad, that there's certain similar words and phrases that we use, right? And then, of course, you want to make sure that whatever copy, wording, phrasing you use, that can also be found on the landing page, right? So really make sure that you have that recognizability across different platforms, because that's what creates trust in users. And it also creates that factor of recognizing your brand over and over again. And then in the moment where they need it, that they then say, yes, I'm going to go back to that brand and I'll purchase from them, even if there might be other competitors out there advertising for a similar product like yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. If anyone else has any questions, please put them in the chat. In the meantime, Pamela, maybe you can share just a little bit how folks can get in touch with you and learn more about Ajala Digital.
Yeah, sure. And I can get into that. I think the one thing, Marina, though, I would love for you to highlight a bit more is, the location targeting that Growth Channel is really good at, because I think that's something most people don't know that exists, that you can be that accurate, because like Google and Meta tend to be about like 15 to 20 miles off for whatever location you choose. And I know you guys are really, really good with that. So maybe you can share a bit more about how that relates to like audio ads, or how you've seen your advertisers utilize that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, geofencing is our top, one of the top at least, targeting strategies that folks will choose to run through programmatic media on Growth Channel. We do run 3 types of different geofencing campaigns. One is historical targeting. So we are able to identify people who went to specific locations in the past 12 months and reach them through targeting on any channel, including audio. That strategy has been performing really well for most of our advertisers, as long as they get strategic with those locations and filter the audience a little bit more for demographics and interests. The second one is real-time geofencing, and that is essentially people in this location right now. Usually mobile devices targeting is really good in this specific case because most people are on the go, so you want to reach them, and music is on their phones as well. So audio ads, podcasts ads, all of that is embedded into the phone as well. So definitely a good strategy to consider for real-time geofencing. Now, the top performing strategy geofencing by CTR is also remarketing. So that way we are able to tap into people who were in that location at the time when we targeted them, and then remarketing to them right after they visited that location. It usually works really well for conferences. So let's say, Pamela, I don't know where you are right now, but overall, let's say you are in this office building today working. But while you're working, you may not have as much attention towards ads, right? So after you're done, I will remarket to you my strategy, and that usually works really well with the messaging and getting that click-through rate in place and even CPA results. So definitely for those of you who haven't considered it, check it out. We do have a 6-feet precision targeting, which makes it very granular to reach very specific audiences in those very exact locations. Plus, we are able to narrow it down through more filters, such as, well, not just demographics like age and gender, but also things like, okay, do I buy Nike or Adidas? Or like, am I in market to maybe buy a new car? Or what kind of insurance carrier am I with? So depending on the type of campaign, you can actually filter down the audience much more. And geofencing can be used for, or at least things that we see on our platform is like store visits, conferences and events, music festivals, office buildings, and many others. So it can be applied to multitude of different industries and case studies. So yeah, that's just a little bit about this. Pamela, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. It's always a good reminder for myself as well what's possible. Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn just with my name, Pamela Wagner. If you're locked in, you're probably going to be finding me fairly easily. You can also go, sorry about that. You can also go to ajaladigital.com. We also got an optimization guide there for you, or simply follow the company on LinkedIn. So we're on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram as well. And if you need help with your ads, don't be shy. Shoot me a message. Say, hey, I need help with ads, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Pamela, for this time today. This was a great conversation, learning about how you guys deal with ads and address all of those different challenges today. Thank you all for coming today and listening in. You will all get a recording with the slides. And if you would like to get a personalized demo, you can sign up on Girls Channel website, girlschannel.com. And we'd love to see you on the platform. Have all a great day.
Thank you.